hate this, but Jess, thank you for sharing, and let's unpack this because it is disgusting how many groups call themselves anti-trafficking groups, raise millions of dollars in the name of combating trafficking, and are not combating trafficking, but they're also not even supporting survivors. So let's talk about the optics. Let's talk about what survivors can experience, and I'll give you a few real examples. So as someone who experienced 20 years of trafficking and over the last few years has worked with various organizations, including law enforcement, I've seen this to extents you would not imagine. And again, it's horrific, but people need to know that unfortunately a lot of your well-meaning donations are not actually helping the problem. Like you might buy a t-shirt in the name of, supporting a mission or something, and bless your heart because I appreciate people who help, but we need to weed out the ones who are actually helping and the ones who are actually on the opposite spectrum and are hurting. So let me give you, this is a quick story and then I'm going to unpack this further. This was maybe a year ago. I was looking for a place to put 2 survivors of trafficking, which met every qualification for they needed help, okay? So I was researching safe houses and organizations in the United States. I found a couple and I narrowed it down to ones that I thought looked better because a lot of them raise red flags for me, and that's a different subject. So here's the point. These particular organizations on their website, on their marketing materials, claimed to house and support survivors of trafficking. I contacted them. I went all the way up and down the chain to talk to everyone who was anyone for 2 survivors who needed help, who met every qualification. And after 4 hours of just kind of researching and talking to people and trying and submitting forms and all the things, guess what they sent me a few days later? Guess what? A $20 gift card to Walmart. And an organization who claims to house and support survivors. This is true story. It is horrendous. I've worked with other people that have researched these nonprofits. I've worked with other survivors. You guys would be surprised how many of them have pretty marketing or say pretty things, but when it comes down to brass tactics, they are not helping. Something a lot of people don't realize is that survivors don't need pity or another film showing how sad it is, or a lot of people that are interested in the gruesome details. All your emotions don't help us. They don't help the people who need help. What survivors need is a safe place. They need protection and they need a place where they can find peace and heal. That's step 1, because healing is this whole lifelong journey. But again, if an organization is specifically claiming to support and house survivors, you would expect them to do something like that, right? But yeah, it's just not always happening. But here's where it gets really interesting. When survivors like me speak out and raise awareness about these issues, these groups try to threaten and silence us. Tell me in the comments if you've experienced something like this. Not only have I been blocked and deleted because whatever, but seriously threatened, okay? Threatened for not only exposing corrupt organizations, because obviously they hate being exposed, but specifically they try to actually silence you. Now, obviously they've been quite ineffective, and obviously I stand for the truth, and evil can't really combat that very well. But I've even seen organizations and experienced organizations that was oh, she's just bitter and traumatized. Oh, she's just, broken individual. We tried, to help her, but she's just broken. No, we're just telling the truth. So here's my challenge to everyone watching. Don't just observe the surface and the pretty marketing and be yeah, here's my donation, God bless, bye. Look beyond the surface. Try to dig in, but specifically look for measurable results. They should be able to quantify it. Look at my last video, I spell that out. Also, ask questions and get answers. Where's the money going? Show me the results. What are the measurable impact? If they're not responsive, if they just sort of brush you off or give some intangible response awareness, that's not really helping. Another thing I like to look for is, are survivors part of their board or group or consulting or something? Do they know what they're doing? Because there's this thing called trauma-informed care or therapy, and that's a whole other video, but here's the point. Trauma-informed care means the individualized approach, meaning you may think you know what's going to help somebody, but you really don't know unless you've been through it, and I'm not saying you have to have been through it in order to help. I'm saying if you're not getting advice from people who have been through it and healed from it and are helping to heal other people, you might be years behind when it comes to effective modalities for healing. So we can do a whole other discussion on trauma-informed care, because that's a whole thing I'm actually really passionate about. Let me know your questions on that. But again, if they're sort of reinventing the wheel or making up what they think will be helpful, that's probably not always going to be that helpful. Unless you've literally survived it, unless you've jumped out into the world with zero support, not knowing where to go, having no, safety blanket or anything, you probably can't relate. And again, bless your heart, you don't have to have been through it, but the point is, are they really helping? Are they really looking for ways they can help on the individualized level with the individualized approach? Or are they just fundraising and paying themselves? Because those are 2 different things. When I was a kid, born and raised in an international religious cult where trafficking was one of many forms of abuse, and I survived that. After 20 years, I escaped when I was in Mexico. But here's the point. There were a lot of people filming the problem, and none of those films helped us. None of those, even international news, helped us. There was no safety net, or here when you want to get out you can go to school, or God forbid, a fund or some sort of aftermath, education, medical care, housing, child support, nothing, absolutely nothing. So for all the people, I'm talking about the organizations that are collecting millions of dollars in the name of combating trafficking, check on them. Make sure, if you want to know, just send them to me and I'll let you know what I think, or I've probably already investigated them, or I'd love to. But we actually need these organizations to step up and help. We need those millions of dollars to be directed towards the survivors and the actual problems here, the real victims of this issue, not the people running their mouths about it, okay? So to Jess and to all my fellow survivors, because unfortunately I know way too many people who have been victimized by these organizations claiming to help survivors, our voices matter. Truth matters. And guess what? Darkness is terrified of light. So keep shining that light.